Call of Duty was a flashy blockbuster, but Battlefield, it was absolute chaos. Jets crashing into helicopters, whole buildings collapsing on your squad, and teammates would rather teabag you than revive you. For years, it was the ultimate war playground. But here's the question. Was Battlefield truly brilliant? Or did we just mistake absolute chaos for peak game design? Let's find out. Right from the start, Battlefield went for it. In 2002, Battlefield 1942 dropped us into all-out war. 64 players, tanks, ships, planes, and maps so massive you could get lost for half an hour before even seeing an enemy. This wasn't your body's twitchy arena shooter. This was a war simulator where chaos reigned, and honestly, that chaos was the magic that made Battlefield special. You had dogfights in the skies, naval battles in the oceans, and jeep drivers turning into guided missiles. Well, mostly by accident. Battlefield 1942 didn't care if the mechanics were clunky. It cared about giving you a sandbox where your squad's stupid decisions became legendary memories. That's the DNA of Battlefield. 2 years later came Battlefield Vietnam, and suddenly chaos had a soundtrack. Rolling Stones, Creedence, Napalm Strikes. It was pure style. I mean, helicopters drifting sideways, rice fields turning into kill zones, and teammates blasting Fortunate Son while crashing into trees. Battlefield found its atmosphere here. Gameplay-wise, Vietnam was tighter, with more refined infantry combat and some of the most iconic maps in the franchise. But what it really nailed was immersion. You weren't just playing a game. You felt like you were inside a war movie, complete with chaos, betrayal, and hot drops straight into hell. Then in 2005, Battlefield 2. The game took the scale of 1942 and said, what if we actually make this modern? Jets, tanks, anti-air, squad systems, commander mode. This was the first serious Battlefield, and it set the stage for everything after. Battlefield 2 introduced ranked servers, persistent stats, unlocks, and actual squad tactics. Suddenly, Battlefield wasn't just chaos, it was organized chaos now. Commanders could drop UAV scans, artillery strikes, or supply crates, while squads actually mattered. All that and still, the signature Battlefield insanity was there. I mean, nothing used to be taken off in a jet and bailing me there just to see for an enemy tank. I'm pretty sure I'm not alone on that. And then, shit got futuristic. Battlefield 2142. Welcome to the future. Mechs stomping across battlefields. Titan game mode where entire ships became objectives. And guns that looked like Nerf blasters from hell. Yeah, not everyone loved it, but personally, I really liked the futuristic setting. Sure, it had a lot of problems, but come on, stomping other players in the snowy maps with mechs was absolutely fun. It was different, it was bold. I mean, some felt the future setting was too weird, but the Titan mode? Come on, that was pure genius. Boarding enemy ships, blowing up cores, close quarter fights after long-range vehicle warfare. It was like playing first-person Battlefront Galactica Assault, which is an absolute plus in my book. This was Battlefield at its most experimental, and honestly, I don't know if it's the nostalgia talking in me, but I feel like it deserved way more love than it got. It's 2008, and we get Battlefield Bad Company. This is where Battlefield really broke into consoles. Sure, we had modern combat before, but Bad Company was different. How do I say this? The game had personality. A single-player campaign with humor, characters you actually remembered, and a squad that felt more like troublemakers than soldiers. And let's not forget the destruction. Walls, buildings, everything could be blown into pieces with the GL. This wasn't just shooting enemies, it was erasing their hiding spots with C4 and every other explosive in the game. It was Battlefield's first real taste of environment as gameplay, and it sure set a new standard. Then came Bad Company 2 in 2010, and let's keep it real. The game hit hard. The campaign was fun, but it was the multiplayer that really carved its name in history. Rush mode in Bad Company 2 is still one of the franchise's finest hours. Tight choke points, massive explosions, and squads scrambling to armament stations under fire. And the destruction? Absolutely next level. Entire towns could be leveled, forcing Battlefield to constantly evolve. Snipers hiding in buildings? Not for long. Just bring out the rocket launcher and solve the problem the Battlefield way. Bad Company 2 also nailed the feel of modern combat. The guns had weight, the sound design was crisp, and the maps from snow-covered peaks to jungle villages felt alive. For many players, this was their entry point, and it set high expectations for what Battlefield could be in the future. Bad Company 2 was more than just a game. It was a statement. Battlefield wasn't just a PC chaos simulator anymore. It had officially gone mainstream, and it was ready to challenge anyone. And it had no business to settle down, at least not yet. 2011, Battlefield 3. It wasn't just a new game. It was Battlefield stepping into the spotlight. With Frostbite 2 engine, cutting-edge graphics, and sound design that rattled your bones. Battlefield became something that Call of Duty didn't have. It was like its own genre. It was setting a whole new standard. Battlefield 3 gave us iconic maps. Operation Metro, the ultimate infantry meat grinder. Caspian Border, with a giant radio tower everyone tried to destroy with jets. The scale was still there, but the gunplay was sharper. The movement was smoother, and the explosions more cinematic than ever. If you played Battlefield 3 at launch, you remember that feeling. This is next-gen war. And let's not forget about the gorgeous visuals of the campaign. The story, the camera work, everything. It was everything we wanted from a modern-day military shooter. And dare I say, Battlefield 3 and 4 were the best Battlefield games ever made. And then came Battlefield 4 in 2013. Bigger, bolder, and packed with chaos. This was the era of Levolution, which was DICE's polite term for blowing the f*** out of everything. Entire skyscrapers collapsing mid-match, floods reshaping maps, storms rolling in to ruin your cover. No other FPS made Battlefield itself feel alive like this. And let's not forget about the goated soundtrack. It's the only Battlefield game that I can name every single map in it. Well, mainly because I maxed out 2 accounts on both PS3 and PS4. Battlefield 4 had a rough launch. Bugs, crashes, netcode nightmares. But once it stabilized, it became one of the best multiplayer shooters ever made. Vehicles felt like their weight. Infantry combat was fast and tactical, and the community was thriving. Whether you were grinding in Conquest or trying to survive Locker, Battlefield 4 captured the perfect mix of chaos and strategy. I mean, nothing could replicate the feeling of hiding behind the dumpster in the mid-map choke point with a bipod LMG with lasers and ACOG and supply box next to you, just not letting go of the trigger. I know you did it too, okay, so don't even pretend like you didn't. Just don't. BF3 and BF4 weren't just games, they were an era. For a lot of players, this was peak Battlefield, me included. The destruction, the sound design, squad play. It felt like every match told a different war story, and honestly, a lot of us are still chasing that high. And hopefully we get our fix in Battlefield 6. Then came Battlefield Hardline in 2015, the Cops and Robbers spin-off nobody asked for, but everyone at least tried. Gone were the days of tanks and jets, and in came armored vans, ziplines, and tasers and batons. It wasn't a bad game, just not Battlefield. It had some fun modes like Heist and Hotwire, but it lacked the scale and identity that defined the series. Hardline felt more like a side experiment, a detour before the main road continued. Something to keep us busy while they were cooking the most cinematic Battlefield ever. Okay, roll the drums. 2016, one of the best eras in human history, Battlefield 1. And wow, what a comeback. While everyone else was pushing futuristic shooters, Battlefield went back to World War I. And it was a bold, brilliant move. The atmosphere of this game, my god, don't even get me started on it, okay? It was unmatched. Muddy trenches, bayonet charges, mustard gas, and cavalry charges across the friggin' desert domes. The behemoths, massive armored trains, airships, and dreadnoughts. They all gave losing teams a shot at turning the tide. And the sound design of this game, brutal. Every rifle crack felt like it was right next to your ear. Sniping with the Lawrence of Arabia SMLE. To this day, if you go and boot up your Battlefield 1, you'll be mesmerized by the beauty of this game. Battlefield 1 reminded everyone that the series could deliver in scale and soul in the same package. Then came Battlefield 5 in 2018, World War II, but with new standard for gaming, which is to have a half-ass release and complete the game later. Battlefield 5 had an incredible gunplay, honestly some of the smoothest in the whole franchise. The Pacific expansion gave us stunning maps and some of the best fights in the series, but like I said, the launch? Weak content, confusing marketing, and questionable design decisions, they all hurt its momentum. Over time it got better, sure, and better to a point where it's an absolutely good game if you want to play it right now. But for the time it was released, it never really shook off that rocky start. And Battlefield 2042. The hate and love relationship I have for this game. Mostly towards hate though. Advertised 128 player matches, which was meh. Massive maps, specialists instead of traditional classes. On paper, it sounded like the future of Battlefield, but in reality, well, you remember the half-ass releases I mentioned before? Yeah, here they took it up a notch actually, and settled for a game that was worse than the beta of itself, which made no sense. The game launched broken, bugs, empty maps, missing features. God, it was a rough time to be a fan. And it gave me more reason to hate it because it was the reason that some Star Wars games were cancelled and the support for Battlefront 2 was stopped. And don't even get me started on the stupid Thor tanks and wildcats in the back of the map that were unkillable if paired with trophy systems. But here's the thing, after updates and patches, 2042 is in a much better place. It's not perfect, the destruction is not even there, which was something that made Battlefield. But the gunplay was fluid, something that I really enjoyed after having close to 1500 hours on this game. Yeah, I'm not proud of it. Alright, here we are, the latest chapter in the Battlefield franchise, Battlefield 6. After the turbulence of 2042, EA and DICE are back with a game that feels like a love letter to the classics. Launching on the 10th of October 2025, Battlefield 6 brings us back to the modern day warfare we all know and love. The game features 9 maps at launch, including a remaster of the iconic Operation Firestorm from Battlefield 3. That's right, the return of a fan favorite map. And it's not just about nostalgia. Multiplayer modes are back in full force with Conquest, Rush, and the new Escalation mode, which gradually funnels players into specific map areas. Plus, the beloved Portal mode returns with enhanced tools for custom game creation. On the single player side, the campaign draws inspiration from modern war films like Generation Kill and Civil War, offering a gritty, realistic portrayal of combat in 2027. And I'm sure you already played the beta just like me. I kinda loved everything about it, you know? The only thing I didn't like was the fact that I could hear my own GPU crying and weeping. Poor thing. I did expect this though when I saw my GPU listed in the minimum system requirements. That's where I knew I was in trouble. Nevertheless, I'm looking forward to see you all on the battlefield not reviving your squad mates as usual. So where does that leave us? Battlefield has gone from World War II chaos in 1942 to the modern heights of Battlefield 3 and 4, to experiments, comebacks, and struggles. At its best, Battlefield is about scale, teamwork, and unforgettable chaos. At its worst, it's about bugs, frustration, and forever waiting for patches. But one thing's for sure, no matter the era, no other shooter captures the insanity of war like Battlefield. Now it's your turn. Drop your favorite Battlefield memory in the comments. Was it parachuting C4 onto a tank? Or maybe crashing a helicopter into your squad by accident? Either way, stay tuned because next time we are diving into more gaming chaos.